Number 10, I have Aaron Donald. Last year, and Aaron Donald has been the best defensive player in football for a while. Aaron Donald has been widely considered one of, if not the greatest defensive player of all time. Last year, he dealt with injuries. In fact, the whole Rams team dealt with injuries, but Aaron Donald dealt with injuries towards the end of the year, didn't finish the season. And even with that, and even last year when he was playing, while no, it didn't result in much wins, Aaron Donald was not his dominant self, but he was still a dominant player. You're hearing reports that, and he even said that he feels like he's in the best shape of his life and that he has something to prove. I'm not saying that Aaron Donald is going to lead the Rams to new heights or back to the Super Bowl. I'm not saying that. I mean, there was several years where Aaron Donald was the best team and the Rams just weren't that good. I think, with the setback of Cooper Kupp, and just how this roster is constructed, I don't think the Rams are going to be that good. But I do think that Aaron Donald is going to be back to his dominant ways. Now, the reason why I have him 10 and I have a couple of defensive players above him is because age does start to creep in. And you can only be dominant for so long. Don't get me wrong. And I'm not saying that Aaron Donald's going to fall off a cliff, but age does start to creep in. And especially when you've already started to consider retirement, I think you lose a step. We talk about that here. People talk about it all the time. When a player starts contemplating retirement, they're not all in. And I'm not saying that Aaron Donald isn't dedicated to the game, but I just think once you start, there's a reason why you start contemplating hanging up the cleats. I think he's going to be great this year. I think that he is going to be motivated because of how the Rams and how his season ended last year. And I think that Aaron Donald, while I don't think he is the best defensive player in the league anymore, he has been dominant for a while, and I think that he is going to be back to his dominant ways. So I have Aaron Donald at number 10. At number 9, I have Travis Kelce. Spoiler alert, he is the only tight end on this list, and rightfully so. Travis Kelce is the best tight end in football. When I talked about the AFC West, and I talked about how important the connection for the Chiefs, the connection that Travis Kelce has with Patrick Mahomes. When you look at this wide receiver core, man, I feel we're going to see a heavy dose, and we see it every year, but I feel we're going to see a heavy dose of Travis Kelce and Patrick Mahomes because they're the two pieces on this offense that what you're going to get from them. Travis Kelce, like I said, is the best tight end in football. I don't think that's much of a question. I don't think that's much of a discussion. I think the discussion comes in is when we talk about all time, kind of like with Aaron Donald. I think that you can argue that Travis Kelce is a top 5, top 3 tight end of all time. Now, a lot of people want to say, well, anyone can be a top 10 wide receiver or tight end if you play with Patrick Mahomes. Not true at all. Not true in the slightest. I think one thing that separates tight ends is some tight ends. Let me not say some, and let's not go down that road. What I will say is this: Travis Kelce has an innate ability to find open seams, and he is one of the best of all time to find a way to get open. I don't know if when you really look at when Patrick Mahomes throws the ball to Travis Kelce when he catches it, most of the time he looks wide open. Now, that's not a detriment on the defense because it's like they can play. There's no way that every single defense leaves Travis Kelce wide open. No, Travis Kelce has the ability to find the open seams. He's an incredible route runner. He has wide receiver tendencies just in a big body. He's kind of like, or Kyle Pitts has the ability to be kind of like Travis Kelce as far as having tight end or wide receiver abilities as a tight end. Now, no, Travis Kelce isn't the best at blocking, but what you lack in blocking, you get in catchability and runs after or yards after catch. And Travis Kelce is one of the main reasons why Patrick Mahomes is as great as he is, because you have and he has been a legit weapon for Patrick Mahomes. So I have Travis Kelce at number 9. This pains me as a Washington fan, but at number 8, I have Michael Parsons. There's a reason why a lot of people, whether justified or not, there's a reason why a lot of people have the Cowboys going really far this year. Some of it is, of course, because of Dak Prescott. Some of it is because of CeeDee Lamb, but most of it is because of Michael Parsons. Michael Parsons has emerged as one of the best defenders in football, one of the best rushers of the quarterback, one of the best tacklers. When we talk about a perfect defensive player, you can't get much further than Michael Parsons. I think one thing that he needs to work on, which, let me say this, one thing that people say he needs to work on is his motor, because you do see that he does get tired at times, but his engine, like, he's kind of like the Russell Westbrook of football, meaning he goes 100% every single time. And yeah, I think that you can have an argument that he is the best defensive player in football. I don't think he is the best defensive player in football, which is why I have him number 8. And the player that I do think is the best defensive player in football, I have a little higher, but I digress. While yes, it is a quote unquote quarterback league, and the Cowboys are only going to go as far as Dak Prescott takes them. But when you have a player like Michael Parsons on the defensive side of the ball, your team always has a shot. And your defense should be considered one of the top defenses with a player like that, no matter who else is around him. Even though you do have you do have Lawrence, you do have Diggs. Micah Parsons is one of the best defensive players in football, and that's one thing that cannot be denied. I don't believe so. So I have him at number 8. Number 7, I have Jaylen Herz. Now, I know that's crazy and that sounds blasphemous to people. Like, how is Jaylen Herz, who finished second in MVP last year, who finished or came runner-up in the Super Bowl, how is he number 7? Well, I think that there's 6 players better than him. One. And honestly, I'm interested to see how he looks this year. I don't think he has much to prove, but I'm interested to see, because he did have the easiest schedule in football last year. And while, yes, he was incredible, and I'm not taking anything away from him, I have said on numerous occasions how I was wrong about Jaylen Herz, and he has completely changed how I see him and how I feel about him. He goes from the hardest or the easiest schedule to one of the hardest, if not the hardest schedule. And I'm interested to see what he and this Eagles team look like. I think that some of the problems that you're able to mask when you're playing a lower tier team and a lower team defense, you're not going to be able to do anymore, because I still think that there are still question marks about his accuracy and, his deep ball. Now, yes, you do have A.J. Brown and you do have Devontae Smith and Dallas Goedert. Those are always incredible pieces to have. But I want to see what he looks like against tougher teams, because as we saw, the two teams that he played that were probably the toughest teams, he didn't look that good. He didn't look that good against the 49ers, which he does have to play this year. And I'm not saying that they would have lost, but I am interested to see. I'm interested. That's always a big what if. What if Brock Purdy finished the game? Because Jaylen Herz, whether you can blame on injury or not, I don't know. He didn't look good at all. And while, yes, he was the best player, arguably, in the Super Bowl, ultimately he came up short. So I know it sounds crazy. I'm not crapping on Jaylen Herz. Jaylen Herz is great. He's one of the best dual threat quarterbacks in football. And I do think that obviously I have him number 7 out of all players in football. So I think Jaylen Herz is going to be great. I'm just very interested to see what he looks like now, having one of, if not the toughest schedule in football. So I have him at number 7. Number 6, I have Josh Allen. Josh Allen is an incredible quarterback. Let's just be real with it. I do think that the biggest hindrance him, obviously, is his decision making. The first year without Brian Daboll, which last year, he led the league in interceptions. Maybe that could be a fluke year. I don't know, but he did look more like the Josh Allen of year 1 and 2, I believe. But let's not get it twisted. Josh Allen, with his passing ability, with his running ability, he is one of the best dual threat quarterbacks. To me, he's not the same type of runner as Jaylen Herz. I think Jaylen Herz is a far better runner of the football at the quarterback position. However, I think Josh Allen is a much better thrower of the football than Jaylen Herz. And I think that it does help that the Bills' defense is predicated and honestly goes through Josh Allen with everything it does, even though I do think that it comes back to hurt them at times, especially talking about the running game. I've talked about that ad nauseum and how this team does not focus on the run at all. But Josh Allen is great, and he has been great since being paired with Stephon Diggs. I'm not saying that he's the only reason why he's good is because Stephon Diggs, but what I am saying is it is a cheat code to have a number 1 wide receiver, like a pure number 1. Again, the reason why I can't put him higher is because of the interceptions. And there are times when he puts the Bills in situations that that they can't come, mostly with his interceptions. That's honestly, there's no way that I can have the person that led the league in interceptions be a top 5, in my opinion. Even though he the talent wise, he's a top 5, obviously, player, but those interceptions are costly. And again, I talked about this when I talked about the divisional breakdown. I don't know how many times there can be high expectations for the Buffalo Bills with Josh Allen as their quarterback, and every year those expectations are not met or not even really close to being met. Again, Josh Allen, as crazy as how many times that we've said that the Bills are Super Bowl contenders, Josh Allen has not played in a conference championship. The greatest game that we saw him and Patrick Mahomes, and the greatest ending to a football game we've ever seen, that was not in the college championship. I mean, that was not in the conference championship. That was in the round 2. So, again, I think that Josh Allen has the capabilities and has the tools to be a top-tier quarterback, and I think he is a top-tier quarterback. But those interceptions, to me, hold him back from being a much better quarterback than, those interceptions hold him back a lot as far as my rankings. So I have him at number 6. I guess this can be one of controversial to some people, but I have Lamar Jackson number 5. when Lamar Jackson plays, I know that there's people that are still to this day saying that Lamar Jackson is not good at throwing the football. There's people to this day that says that Lamar Jackson is only good at running the football. There's people to this day that says that Lamar Jackson is not a winner only because he hasn't won a Super Bowl. Now I think about it. There's only 2 people on this list that have won a Super Bowl. There's only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. No, 3 people on this list. I don't think you understand how tough it is to win a Super Bowl, especially in today's game. Mind you, spoiler, Justin Herbert is not on this list. And he is widely considered one of the best talents at the quarterback position. I don't even think he's won a playoff game. So it's tough. But Lamar Jackson is actually statistically one of the best throwers of the football in the National Football League. He's also one of I think he wins 70% of the games he starts. Now, the thing that's holding him back, obviously, is his inability to finish seasons. The last 2 seasons, he missed the last 6 games due to injury. I think that when Lamar Jackson is healthy, the Ravens are one of the best teams in football. And the Ravens, actually, I think were number 1 in the AFC when Lamar Jackson was playing. And this is also, I think the year, was it 2 years ago or last year, the Ravens, every single player on their team got hurt. I know you remember that, when it was just like every single week. I think all their running backs got hurt before in training camp. J.K. Dobbins, Gus Edwards, they all got hurt. And then you start, wide receiver after defensive player, like every single person got hurt. So, and even with that, when Lamar Jackson was healthy, he led this team to the number one spot in the AFC. I think that there's a reason why I think that this is a big year for the NFC or AFC North. This is a big year for the Ravens. This is the first year where Lamar Jackson has a wide receiver core. I see a lot of people that were talking to me in my comments talking about Hollywood Brown. And somebody had the nerve to tell me, and don't get me wrong, bro, like, shouts out to Deshaun Jackson. Deshaun Jackson was incredible when he was playing for the Eagles, and he also played for Washington for a year. But people were saying he had Deshaun Jackson last year. What? Come on, bro. Come on, bro. But this is the first year, and I think in his tenure in the Lamar Jackson era of the Ravens, that they have a competent wide receiver core with Odell Beckham Jr. Hopefully he's able to stay healthy. Zay Flowers, Rashad Bateman, hopefully he can stay healthy. And of course, we know the connection that Lamar Jackson has with Mark Andrews. I kind of hearken that to Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce. So I think that a lot of people want to crap on Lamar Jackson because, again, the lack of playoff success. He only has 1 playoff win. But, again, let's look at the entire body of work. In the entire body of work, Lamar Jackson is one of the best quarterbacks in football, and I think that he is going to prove that to people yet again this year. So I have it number 5. At number 4, and to me, this is the best defensive player in football, is Nick Bosa. Well, no, a lot of people may not agree with his off-the-field stances. I'm just talking about what he does on the field. And on the field, one of the biggest, he is the head of the spear for the 49ers. And a 49ers team that not only is one of the most loaded teams, but defensively one of the best defenses in football, mainly because of Nick Bosa. With the speed, with the talent, with the physical brute force that he's able to unleash on an offense, it's hard for me to put anybody above him as far as defensive players in general. And what's even crazy, how to me, the way that you can tell if he's the best defensive player, right, is look at his team. And he plays alongside Fred Warner. In any given era, Fred Warner would be a top tier defensive player in football, and honestly would be considered one of the best defensive players of that era, of that generation. And while yes, Fred Warner is great and Fred Warner is one of the best defensive players in football, his accomplishments, his greatness kind of gets overshadowed and trumped by Nick Bosa. Nick Bosa did just win Defensive Player of the Year last year. He is incredible. This defense, he's so good that even with Fred Warner, if you take Nick Bosa off this defense, it's not considered one of the best defenses in football. Well, yes, they have some good. They have Armstead, like they have some good pieces. Nick Bosa puts them over the top. Now I understand that he's in a holdout situation with the 49ers trying to get a new contract. I am interested to see how that ends or comes to, or how that plays itself out, because trust me, this team needs Nick Bosa. Like let's just be real here. So yeah, I have Nick Bosa as number 4. He is the best player or best defensive player in football to me. And what's even crazier and more of a, I guess, stat for Nick Bosa is when you look at just defenses, man, you look at some of the best defensive players. There's a lot of defensive players that are playing today that will go down in the history books and that are future Hall of Famers, i.e., like Aaron Donald, Von Miller, Bobby Wagner, possibly. Like, this is the golden age. I'm not gonna say golden age of defenses. That's not true at all. But there are great defensive players, and to me, he reigns supreme as the best defensive player in football, which is why, again, I am very curious on how this whole holdout ends, because kind of like Zach Martin for the Cowboys, it's imperative that the 49ers have Nick Bosa on their team. That's just not a piece you can plug and play. You're talking about the best defender in football, like the reigning defensive player of the year. You can't really just play with that. So we'll see. At number 3, I have the only wide receiver in this entire group or entire list, and that's Justin Jefferson. I think the thing that holds him back, man, and this, no offense to Kirk Cousins, but it's just true. You're playing with Kirk Cousins, and Kirk Cousins is throwing you the ball. I think that we are at a premium with wide receivers. Like, this is such a crazy time for wide receivers. When you have CeeDee Lamb, you have Jamar Chase, even some of the wide receivers that are less known but will be household names soon, like George Pickens from the Steelers, or Cooper Kupp. Well, he's not really less known, but you have Cooper Kupp. This is a crazy time for wide receivers. Hell, you also have Terry McLaurin, DK Metcalf. I think that Justin Jefferson is better than all of them. Now, I still have LSU in the back of my mind. And what I mean by that is it was very hard for me to put Justin Jefferson as a number 1 receiver, because I remember the LSU days. I know that's very it's not, you can't really do that, but that's just what I've done. At LSU, Jamar Chase was the guy. For people that forget how crazy, and we'll talk about college football in a second. For people that for people that forget how crazy that LSU team is, you had Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, and Justin Jefferson on the same team. And that's just three names. Like I think you had Stingley. Like boy, you had Thaddeus Moss, who was an incredible tight end. Like that was a squad. And Justin Jefferson was not the guy. Well, let me not say that. Jamar Chase was better than him in college. That's just what it is. But in the NFL, Justin Jefferson is probably the best route runner. He's probably the best. He probably has the best hands. Probably one of the faster wide receivers getting to their breaks, getting to their cuts. And he is he is the brightest spot for the Vikings. Again, the thing that holds him back, and the thing that holds a lot of wide receivers back, is the quarterback position. I think that Terry McLaurin would be a more household name if he played with a better quarterback. That's just how it is. But I do think that Justin Jefferson is the best wide receiver in football, and I have him at number 3. At number 2, I have Joe Burrow. There's not much that I think number 1 and number 2 are kind of distant, have kind of distanced themselves. I think you can pretty much understand who number 1 is. But Joe Burrow, I mean, in year 4 or 5, I forget which one this is going to be. He's already been to an AFC championship or 2 AFC championships. He's been to 1 Super Bowl. Joe Burrow is an incredible talent. And it's crazy that he had to spend 3 years at Georgia and was a transfer to LSU and pulled off the greatest statistical season for a college football team ever. And then I was hoping that he wasn't going to be like a Tim Tebow or a Johnny Manziel or a Baker Mayfield. And I because of his size and just because of his character and because of how he carries himself, I thought he was gonna, or I was hoping he was gonna the greatness that he had at LSU was gonna translate to the league, and it has. But I mean, he's number 2 on my list. He has been incredible, and I think that this is going to be. I'll say this. I don't think. I think that the Super Bowl will be going through the AFC North. Whether it's going to be Cincinnati Bengals or the Baltimore Ravens, I'm going to give my prediction probably next year or next episode, but I think that one of the biggest reasons why I have the AFC North as the best division in football is because you have 4 legit teams, 2 of which, in my opinion, are Super Bowl caliber teams. And Joe Burrow is the best quarterback in that division. And people know how much of a fan I am of Lamar Jackson, but Joe Burrow is Joe Burrow. And I think he's one of the best quarterbacks, as one of the highest quarterback ratings in the pocket, and I think hitting a wide open receiver or something like that. Oh no, in clutch time, he's one of the best quarterbacks in football as far as quarterback rankings. So I have Joe Burrow at number 2. And again, man, y'all should know who number 1 is. It would be blasphemy. It would be blasphemous. It would be sacrilegious if you don't have Patrick Mahomes as number 1. You can be in the division. You can be in the AFC. You can be a Broncos fan, and everyone knows Patrick Mahomes is the best player in football. I mean, what we saw him do last year, where he has 2 Super Bowls under his belt. He's been to 3. He won the MVP last year. It's Patrick Mahomes, man. he's there's not much you can say. I mean, he won the conference championship and the Super Bowl on a high ankle sprain. I don't know if you guys know much about high ankle sprains, but those are like 6 weeks done injuries. I had a high ankle sprain. That joint is not fun. And one of the main reasons I talked about this when I talked about the AFC West is one of the main reasons why you can't count out the Chiefs ever is because of Patrick Mahomes. He has been the model of consistency. He has been the best player in football since he's been in football, or since the starter in football. And I'm interested to see what this team looks like with Chris Jones holding out. It looks like he's not going to be here or when the season starts for a couple weeks because of his holdout for the contract. And again, I know Patrick Mahomes is good enough to make any wide receiver work, but I'm interested to see. This is a very young and unproven wide receiver core. Now, yes, I understand that you have Travis Kelce at the tight end position, and I know I put him at number 9, but I don't know. I know that there was a lot of moving parts as far as the offensive line, as far as the wide receivers, as far as the defense. So this is going to be an interesting year for Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. But let's be honest here. Patrick Mahomes is the best player in this sport. So that's my top 10. Oh, man, you stayed to the end of the video. I appreciate you. If you like what you saw, be sure to hit that subscribe button so you'll never miss any content from your boy. You can also go back and watch past episodes, past clips, and don't forget that the Unpopular Podcast, new episodes drop every Wednesday and Saturday. Appreciate you.